Welcome to the Business Boys Talkin-Business Virtual Power Lunch. Please welcome your hosts, Tyler Price and Brian Magleby.
Hey, here we are on another Tuesday in Idaho where it's a little chilly today, but it was at least the sunshine. Of course,
we got the best background here for what it's just like here in eastern Idaho.
Cows behind us, the windmills spinning. I mean, it's all good.
If you watch the little lead-in we did to the show on Facebook, we were out on the river, and we were getting blown away.
It was a little cold. It was a little chilly, but it's a good cold, right? If there's such a thing. Is there such a thing?
There is. Here in eastern Idaho, we get used to it. I'm Brian Magleby with the Idaho Innovation Center.
And I'm Tyler Price with the Small Business Development Center.
And we're glad to have you joining us today on Talkin-Business. We got a great show today. Last week, let's just talk about last week. Julie Mason.
Yeah, great. She's a local business owner as well as on-air talent.
Superstar.
Yeah. So she came in, did great, and
rocked it.
Yeah.
In fact, we may have her as a co-host someday down the road because she's just awesome to deal with. Let's talk about some of the events we have coming up here, Tyler.
So April 16th is the SBIR training or information. If you are looking to want to deal with the government, we have a branch of the SBDC called PTAC that BAM will do a great job of.
Yep, they got four great speakers that all know a lot about it. So
and BAM's working with even Andex to be able to go out and bid some of the jobs out there on the site.
If you could ever think you could sell to do any of your whatever business you have that could work with doing business with the government, it's an hour-and-a-half show this Friday morning, 8:30 to 10. There's the information and the registration for it. It's a free conference on Innovate Idaho.
And what other classes do we got going on?
We got the QuickBooks class that's going to be starting at the end of the month, and that's going to be an absolutely. I've got a graphic up there. There's the details of what it is. A registration class you do have to pre-register for. As we talked about, he's going to actually the instructor for this class is going to be on our show next week. He'll be our ending guest. And we'll be talking about what he's going to be doing in the class, and it's an absolutely phenomenal. I think this is the 6th or 7th time he's done it, and he's never not had a 5-star rating. He did get one little category that was a 4, and it was because it was COVID last year, and we had to deal with Zoom a year ago. But that had nothing to do with him. So as far as his ratings are, 5 out of 5, and we have 10 to 15 people in the class. And this is like his 6th or 7th time teaching it. So I think you got a pretty good track record of having a very good, successful class at that. So.
And then we have the Elevate class.
The Elevate Cornerstone Business class. There's a graphic about it. Some of the things we'll be talking about it. If you have a newer business, we're going to be covering all the basic things that you need to make sure you have in your business. Elevator pitches, mission and vision statements. We'll be talking about goals and sales strategies and unique selling propositions. This is kind of a core business thing that we're really making sure that if you want to make sure your business is going right, you've got to have all these things. And if you don't, you need to be in this class. The class price of this one's only $99. It's 6 hours of training. It's every Wednesday in May, starting May 5th, from 1:30 to 3. It's going to be a great class. If you want to register, the registration link is right there, or you can go to innovateidaho.org. Or IdahoSBDC.org and register for that class.
Or give us a call, right?
Or give us a call. The Innovation Center, the number's there. So got some exciting classes coming up here. QuickBooks starts at the end of this month, so it's April 26th. So it's going to be a great couple classes that we have before the summer kicks in. So we usually take the summer off, which is going to be nice. Hopefully the wind will stop sometime this summer and we can enjoy some days, right?
Yeah, hopefully. Man, I got some branches that I got to get rid of now.
Cleaned up. I did too. So we've got a great show today. We're going to be talking to Tomm Larson. He's the cybersecurity awareness lead at the INL, Idaho National Laboratory. Man, I've had this guy, he's spoken at some things at the Innovation Center before. He knows his stuff, and I'm excited to have Tomm Larson. We've been really looking forward to having Tomm on the show. And we're going to watch a little video here about the INL, and then we'll have Tomm Larson here.
Idaho National Laboratory is changing the world's energy future. by advancing nuclear energy, by securing and modernizing critical infrastructure, and by enabling clean energy deployment. This Department of Energy laboratory sits on 890 square miles of Idaho desert, and it's the nation's lead laboratory for nuclear energy research. INL is steeped in energy history. It's where nuclear-generated electricity first powered an American community. It's where 52 original nuclear reactors were designed and constructed. INL is home to the Advanced Test Reactor, the world's premier test reactor, where nuclear fuels from around the world are tested. The Materials and Fuels Complex is home to world-leading nuclear science and technology capabilities, ranging from nuclear fuel development to post-irradiation examination to battery assemblies for NASA's deep space missions. INL provides expertise and capabilities to create new advanced reactors and maintain our current nuclear reactor fleet. INL works with private companies seeking to build small modular reactors. The lab works with industry to protect the power grid and provide tools and techniques to help critical infrastructure recover from cyber and physical events. INL is solving national challenges with energy storage and delivery, and we are making advances in transportation, bioenergy, and other clean energy options. To ensure the workforce of the future, INL promotes STEM education in public schools and offers hands-on experience through internships and postdoctoral opportunities. With dedicated employees, unmatched capabilities, and passion for collaboration, INL is solving some of our world's biggest energy and security challenges.
Well, great. And you're the one that protects the whole operation.
Not quite.
Not quite? Well, and just to kind of let people know, if there's a question that you have for Tom, please throw it up in the chat and we'll try and get to it there. So anyway, but cybersecurity, kind of a big deal.
It's getting more and more of a big deal every day because we're more and more reliant on cyber resources, the internet, networks, computers, phones.
Yeah. And so when you went to college, Al Gore probably hadn't invented the internet at that point.
No.
So when was the pivot for you to say, hey, I'm going to get into cybersecurity?
Boy, you're going to ask
That's
me a
a
question
tough
about the
question.
past?
Yeah.
About several years past, more than I want to mention?
Just a couple.
I got into cybersecurity, I think about 2002. I started playing with the internet and things like that in 1995 or so.
Yeah.
But cybersecurity became part of my job in about 2002, and it started becoming an issue. You know, after antivirus and people started realizing, hey, when I connect to the internet,
You're at risk.
it's great, but there's people out there who want to do bad things.
Yeah. And I have a trade school, and our website was always under attack. It was like the Hackers 101. So anyone that wanted to become a hacker, here's a list of websites to go and hack, right?
Mm-hmm.
To the point that Google would say, hey, when someone would Google us, would say, hey,
by the way,
this website probably has a virus. So we had some cleaning up, and my wife put some things into play that made it so that it's more difficult. I mean, we're still under attack, and it's not even that cool of a deal, to be perfectly honest. But what are what's the fears that the INL has that?
Where do you want me to start?
Yeah, because I want you to freak people out.
Oh, you do? Okay. Well, the fear starts with the fact that there are billions of people on the internet now. And when you've got billions of people on the internet, there's going to be some part of that population that's going to be malicious, that's going to be spies, that's going to be criminals. And hackers, well, I don't like to use that word because in that community, there's such a thing as a white hat hacker and a black hat hacker. So the criminals and the scammers and the fraudsters recognize that, with billions of people on the internet, that's lots of opportunity. And the population of malicious actors is big enough that there's the malicious actors that are interested in nuclear science and the energy research we do. There's actors who are interested in making us look bad. There are actors that are interested in using us to get money from us or from somebody else. And so there's a very broad range. The good news is we have a pretty good idea of how they're likely to attack us.
Right.
And this applies across the board. This doesn't just apply to INL, this applies to everybody. There are some basic ways that they attack, and all of those ways come through the internet, but most of those ways actually involve humans.
Right.
There are fraudsters and criminals and spies generally. There are spies who have the tools and the techniques where they could technically break into a network without involving a human.
Mm-hmm.
But those are pretty challenging, pretty difficult, pretty costly, and it's way easier to just trick a human.
Yeah.
And so most of the things that we have to do involve a lot of technology to keep things at bay, but it also involves making sure the humans understand and recognize how to protect themselves.
How they're going to get in.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, that's a crucial thing that is out there today. So Tom, talk to us about the businesses that are going to be watching the show. What are some risks of people? The old days, people used to be criminals. They'd go in and rob a bank or rob a business. Now they just have to sit in front of their computer and do it.
Right.
And what are some ways that businesses are getting taken advantage of out there?
Well, the biggest fear, and actually I should have addressed this when you asked me, the biggest fear right now is for businesses that work with larger, more impressive or more funded businesses. So if you're a small business and you don't have a lot of revenue, you don't have a lot of cash flow, comparatively speaking. A lot of what we're seeing a lot of now is where the scammers and the criminals, they're going to try and attack the small business that has ties to a bigger business, or attack a small business that has ties to a government, because they know the criminals know there's a lot more money to be had if you hack a government entity or if you attack a big business. And so what they'll try to do is they'll try to attack a small business and use them as leverage to get into, or as a means to get into a bigger business. I don't know if you remember back like in 2007, I think it was, when Target got hacked right before Christmas. Mm-hmm. They got hacked by a criminal taking advantage of an HVAC vendor for Target.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So
that HVAC company probably doesn't work with Target anymore, right?
I don't know. Probably not. But that's one of the big ones that's really come to the fore recently, because it's not just a matter of taking advantage of people, but if you can take advantage of a small business's software system that's tied to a bigger business or a bigger organization, you can use that software then to attack the larger organization. And that happened recently with something called SolarWinds, if you're familiar with that. So from a small business perspective, they may be trying to hijack your email or your employee's email and then just pose as one of your employees. And this happens to INL on a frequent basis.
Oh, yeah.
Where we'll have one of our vendors, and all of a sudden one of our purchasing agents will get an email from one of their colleagues in a smaller business saying, "Hey, here's a purchase order that you need to fill out, or you owe us this money and it's 30 days overdue." And it's not really coming from that business, but what has happened is a criminal has hijacked that email account and is posing as that smaller business, and it's a personal thing. They try to, and that's the other thing, is the criminals can do their homework. It's really easy for them to gather information about who INL does business with. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Who provides us with paper supplies, who provides us with printing, who provides us with what have you, who provides us with catering. And it's very easy to discover that information, and so they'll use that information to do what's called spear phishing or targeted attacks So instead of just sending out a fish saying, I'm a Nigerian prince and I want all your, and
The olden days.
yeah, I've got tons of money that I want to give you, you just pay me a little bit.
Yeah.
Now what they do is they say, hey, I'm your colleague from XYZ down the street, and I need you to pay this invoice, or I need you to send me some information. And the other thing is, a lot of times, especially when they're attacking, and it can be small businesses or big businesses, they're not after money immediately, they're after credentials. So a lot of the phishing attacks we see now, you'll get an email.
A little bit at a time.
A little bit at a time. You'll get an email, and it'll ask you to, you'll click a link, and it'll ask you to enter your credentials for your Office 365 account, or for your LinkedIn account, or your Facebook account. And what they'll do is they'll capture those credentials, and then they'll use those credentials to pretend to be you, and then use that information or use that identity to then steal money.
Yeah. Yeah, there's, with businesses, I've heard of many businesses over the last couple of years that for doctors' offices that have been hit, and they take all of their records and they hold them at ransom.
Right.
And if you want your own customers' information back, you have to pay them.
Right.
And I've heard of a company that they started out with like $20,000, and so the dentist said, "Yeah, we'll pay you the $20,000 and get it." Then they gave it back to them in chunks, and they only gave them back, 10-20% of it. It ended up being that if they wanted all their information, it was going to be a couple $100,000. So there's many businesses that we have that watch this, and what are some safety protocols that they can do to not be part of someone that can be a ransomware?
So to avoid ransomware, and thank you for bringing that up, because I failed to mention ransomware is probably the biggest issue right now across the internet for all enterprises and for all organizations. The first thing to do to protect against ransomware is to be very, very careful with your email, because that's usually the way they get in. That's usually the way they find a way in, or the way they launch the ransomware on your systems. So be very careful with email, pay very close attention to that, and we'll talk a little bit more about that at the end. The other thing is to make sure you have backups. Make sure you have backups of all your data and all your information. Now, the ransomware operators are getting more sophisticated. They learn from their mistakes just like we do. And they learn how to optimize their business just like we do. And so if you have a backup of all your data on a little outboard hard drive that you plugged into your main computer, the ransomware will go and look for that hard drive.
Yes.
So if you have backups, which yes, you must have backups. You want to back up all your data, all your critical information, especially customer information. You want to keep those backups, but you want to disconnect them from your main system as much as possible. So you want to run your backups, back up all your data, and then disconnect those backups from your main system, so that if something were to happen, say an employee's not paying close attention and they click on a link and all of a sudden you've got ransomware on your system, that backup's not getting infected because you've got it disconnected from your main system or your main network. Another backup solution is to use a cloud provider like Amazon Web Services,
Dropbox.
But
OneDrives,
OneDrive, yeah. So use a cloud provider. Make sure that you understand your contract with them and how it works, and how they're going to protect your backups. Because again, it's possible if you're connected to OneDrive and you've got all your backups on OneDrive and you're connected to OneDrive while ransomware infects you, it could find that connection as well. So ransomware is a huge challenge. And obviously prevention's the best is the best way to avoid it. But
so, Tom, I can be a prime example of that one. Everything that you just said there happened at the Idaho Innovation Center. Oh. My assistant, her computer was taken control of, and we still had the backup attached to it, and it got in and corrupted both the backup and her computer, and they wanted thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, and it was a great learning. Everything you just said, I didn't think may not have happened, but it happened.
It happened
to us. This was about probably 3 years ago, and so it does happen out there.
Well, and even one of the local cities, I won't name them, but they paid the money, right, to get back their files. What's typically then the the person that pays the ransom, or the people that are getting the ransom, are they usually pretty fair at that point? Because it doesn't seem like, to me, it seems like they would have an in just to do it again.
Right.
And then what, because I believe a good defense is a good offense. So are there agencies out there that are seeking these, and maybe the death penalty would be on the table for something like this? I don't know. Or at least cut a finger off just to send a message to the rest of them, maybe? I don't know. But I guess my question being, I guess two-part, even though I talk all over the place, that tends to be what I do. Annually, what is there a dollar amount that you know of that's lost? And then secondly, you pay it, what tends to happen at that point?
Right. Boy, what dollar amount is lost? I'd have to say it's in the billions annually at this point. Yeah. And then, I'm sorry, what was your second question?
Good to ask me that question. But what tends to happen once someone pays the ransom? What tends to happen?
Do they get
after
it back?
that?
Do they really get it back?
That depends. It's one of those things that's still evolving.
Yeah.
Back in the day, actually, when ransomware first started hitting, a lot of the ransomware criminals, for lack of a better word, they were actually pretty good and pretty fair.
So they had honor within their...
And they had, there was honor among thieves.
Yeah.
You paid them the money, and they were good, and they'd leave you alone and give you your data back.
Yeah.
And they'd even go so far, and they probably still do, in a lot of cases, they would have a support desk.
Oh.
Because most of the time, well, when they ask for ransom, they ask for Bitcoin. They ask for some sort of online currency. And so they'd have a help desk or an online support system. If you didn't know how to buy Bitcoin or send you their Bitcoin, you could call a number, or they'd put you in touch with somebody who could step you through the process. That's, like I say, that's evolved. There are still ransomware organizations that are still like that.
Yeah.
But more and more we're seeing cases where once they're in, they stay.
Yeah.
Or they hit you once and then they hit you again.
Yeah.
So even if you pay them, they're going to try again. Or they're going to come back and ask for more, or they're going to give you one chunk and then say, well, you paid us $20,000 for that chunk, now pay us $20,000 for the next chunk.
Yeah.
Right. So it's become more and more criminal and more malicious, I guess is a good way to say it. So the best, like you say, the best defense is a good offense. The FBI is working really hard to shut this down, as well as law enforcement agencies across the world.
Right.
It's not just a U.S. problem.
Right.
It's a problem everywhere. And occasionally they will have success. Recently there was a big ransomware ring that was shut down, but of course another one pops up in their place.
Yeah.
And not only is it big government, but a lot of the tech companies are getting involved. Microsoft has their hand in a lot of law enforcement actions against ransomware and other criminal activities, because it affects them too.
Yeah.
So and another good offense is, where you can, get your services, get your technical services from an organization that already does cybersecurity and can help protect against that type of thing.
Right.
What are some of the programs out there that that are available for small businesses that people can make sure that they is a line of offense that they can put on their computers to help stop any of the things that might be out there? I think most of it comes down to common sense of people not doing things. But is there some programs out there that can help businesses?
The resources that I'm familiar with, remember I work for the INL, so I'm not too familiar with small businesses, but I do know for sure that the SBA, the federal SBA, the Federal Trade Commission, the Federal Communications Commission, they all have some really good resources. My favorite is the Federal Communications Commission, because they give you some ideas and tips of what you can do in your personal business, but then they list a whole bunch of other resources where you can go to learn more, where you might be able to go to get some help with those types of things. So all three of them, SBA, FTC, FCC, and you can just Google small business cybersecurity, and they'll be within the first few listings.
Yeah.
And so the INL, you're hiring people in this industry?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so locally we have a community college that has that certificate. I think it's a 2-year program. My son-in-law is involved in that.
Mm-hmm.
But what what is the job outlook for somebody that wants to go into cybersecurity? So you're laughing, so it's like
It's amazing.
It's huge.
Yeah. So
And it's only going to get bigger.
right.
That's
So
the big thing.
the last time I looked at the numbers, experts were predicting that there would be a 3 million person shortfall.
Wow.
So they're saying there's 3 million jobs out there that need to be filled now that are cybersecurity jobs.
Wow.
So, and so
This problem
organizations
isn't going to stop.
Oh no, and that's I like to tell people, I hate cyber criminals. I absolutely hate them, and they do. And ransomware is not the worst thing they do.
Wow. Yeah.
But they're here to stay.
Yeah.
And because of them, I have a job.
Yeah.
And and I wish that weren't the case. I wish I could have a totally different job.
Yeah.
But it's here to stay, and the demand is huge for cybersecurity professionals. And
Yeah,
so-
and we've got some tips that we've come up with, that Tom's come up with, and we're going to be talking about those at the end of the show. So specific things that are there for businesses. Tom, talk to us. Is there anything else that your job at the site? What are some things that you do that can help the business community here throughout Eastern Idaho?
Wow.
Big question, open-ended, huh?
My job that can help Eastern Idaho?
Yeah.
Well, whenever we find out about a vendor or a partner, whether it's local or someplace else, whenever we find out that they've been hacked or attacked, and a lot of times we'll find out because we'll get an email that looks like it's from one of the local businesses, we'll reach out to that local business and see what we can do to help them clean up or deal with the problem that they've got. So that's one of the things that we do. I love coming to the Idaho Innovation Center. I appreciate your invites, especially today. Thank you both. Because that's another way that I can kind of share my knowledge and hopefully help out. Idaho National Lab by itself, we feel a responsibility to the local community because you support us in so many ways. And so as an organization, we also feel a responsibility to involve and work with the local community. We like to, as much as we can, partner with local businesses, small businesses, because again, that helps us engage with the community and be a good part and a good citizen with the community.
It is very good, and we've had that relationship for years, and we appreciate Tom and giving us some input. And hopefully, our job wasn't today really to scare everybody out there, but to be more aware that it happens out there to businesses, and we hope that you put in all of the precautions you can, because ready or not, it's going to happen, and it's only going to get worse. And if you're thinking about a career, cybersecurity has got job security right now, 3 million short jobs. So, so very good. Well, we appreciate you being here, Tom. And is there anything else that you wanted to share with us from the site, from anything that about cybersecurity?
Yeah, it's not going away. Yeah. It's going to be a need for a very long time. And we do appreciate all the help we get from the community and the support we get from the community. And in those cases where we've had to reach out to somebody here because we've seen an issue or a problem, people have always been very, very helpful.
Very good.
We love being in Idaho.
Yeah. Good. Well, we appreciate you being here today, Tom. We've got this quote that you gave to us. Kind of end out the show with talking about that.
This speaks to my heart because I really believe that everybody's trying to do the best they can. And if you look at people with look at others with a human perspective, if you look at and try to see what's really important to them, and that's not something you can see by looking at the outward appearance, but if you can try to learn about people and what's really important to them, then you really get to know them and get to appreciate who they are and what you can do to make their lives better and what they can do to make your lives better.
Very good. Very inspirational, and we love to have that. It's good. We're going to invite you to stay here because we're going to have you help with our ending of the show training. We wanted to show a video here and about the SBDC and some cybersecurity that the SBDC can help you out with as well. So let's show that, and then we'll be back with some training.
My name is Ben Taves, and my business is Bullet Tools. We specialize in what I'd call fixed blade cutting technology. Essentially, it replaces a chop saw. It allows you to cut through siding and flooring with no dust and no electricity. So ransomware is where the hackers get into your system and they get into your network and encrypt a bunch of your files. We essentially started to set up a new computer and a new user and didn't finish it. With the user not having a password, as soon as they found our IP address and saw that we had remote desktop, they knew that they could get in there. They made it into our network, encrypted a huge amount of our files, and then put a ransom note in each of the folders where those files were located. And it says if you send money to us, then we'll help you get your files back. It's an emotional roller coaster because you're not sure. You're not sure how far they got. You're not sure what information they got. You're not sure if you're going to be able to back everything up. If you're going to be able to restore everything. Fortunately, we have lots of really good people that understand how to make it all happen. And so, my team really came together and figured out how to make it happen pretty quickly. But there is that question in everybody's mind. Are we going to get this information back? What does it mean if we don't? I would just tell other small businesses that there's a big target on them. I think we kind of say we're small enough that nobody really cares. There's not going to be anybody coming after us. But I think it's a growing trend to go after the smaller, I'd call us weaker targets, because we don't have a huge IT budget to spend on cybersecurity. So I just say take action, do something about it, set up whatever you can so that you don't become the next victim of cybercrime.
A cyber attack can happen to you. 50% of small businesses have been breached in the past 12 months, and the average ransom amount has increased 366% since 2015. Don't get caught unprepared. The Idaho SBDC can help you identify risks, protect your business, detect an incident, respond appropriately, and recover what was stolen so you can get back to business. Visit your local SBDC online to learn how you can protect your business.
Great. We encourage you to reach out there to the Idaho SBDC, and they're always a great resource to help with businesses in this area. We asked Tomm to help with our training. We always like to give people some definite takeaways from the show, and so Tomm helped us come up with these 5 things. First one here, I'll just start off. Use good passphrases. Why is that important?
Because that's the first way that they try to attack you. I'm going to try really hard to stay succinct because I could talk for an hour about each and every one of those.
Exactly, I know you could.
So real quick, passphrases. So notice I didn't use passwords. On any account you have, you want to use passphrases now. And the reason is this. Passwords, 8, 10, 12, 13 characters, that's not strong enough anymore. The good news is if you use enough characters, you can start using sentences and words. We used to say don't use dictionary words, don't use obvious patterns. Well, if you use a phrase, and so 25 characters, 30 characters, and I know you're all saying, what? How? No, I can't do that. Yeah. You can. Because you can create a phrase. If you use a phrase that's got 20, 25, 30 characters in it, it's much, much stronger than the old-fashioned password with the uppercase, lowercase, special characters, and numbers. Now, if you create a passphrase, you still want to have uppercase and lowercase and numbers and special characters. But I have a couple of 30-character passphrases that I can remember because there's only 1 or 2 special characters, and there's only 1 or 2 uppercase and 1 or 2 numbers. The other thing is, most accounts now, if you create a passphrase, a space is considered a special character. Oh. And punctuation, they're considered special characters. Mm. So start using phrases. And you can use a line from a song or a book or a movie or something cute your child has said. Yep. If you want to be a little more random, you can actually create a phrase by stringing together words that represent objects in a space you're familiar with. Wow. So just from right here, I could go quote, Tyler, Brian, Tom, chair, and string that together. Yep. Of course, you use a space that you're familiar with that's easy to remember.
Yeah. Very good. Well, that's a key thing. I hope everyone pays attention to that. And let me just add to that, change it often.
Actually, If it's good enough, if it's 25, 30 characters, you don't need to change it.
Yeah, that's probably true.
You don't need to change it unless you find out that somebody has actually
been hacked.
guessed it
But
or
it's still
stolen
safest if you do it, at least annually.
Annually, yeah.
At least
yeah.
if you have a good one. Good. The second one, protect physical and cyber access to your devices.
Right. And so this is one of the things that's been part of cybersecurity as long as cybersecurity's been around. You don't have physical security without cybersecurity, and you don't have cybersecurity without physical security. So if you've got business critical data on a computer, make sure you control who can actually touch that machine or access that machine. Another old rule that's been around and is still true today is if a criminal can touch your machine, they can own it. They can take total control of it. So you want to make sure that you're protecting those devices. Now this is becoming a little more challenging because we're using iPads and other tablets, we're using smartphones in our business. If you're using it for business purposes, you need to protect it very, very carefully.
Yes.
And then, of course, protect cyber access. If it doesn't need to be connected to Wi-Fi, if it doesn't need to be connected to the internet, don't connect it.
Unplug it.
Unplug it.
So then next is to update the software and firmware.
Yeah. So the hackers, they look for any and every way they can get into a computer and any way they can compromise it. And that means if you got that latest and greatest game on your phone, if you get an update, if you get notified that app needs an update, that's probably a security update. 95% of the time when you hear about a software update, and it can be an app on your phone, it can be the operating system of your phone, the operating system for your computer, an application on your computer, your firewall, your antivirus. If you find out that there's an update that hasn't been applied, you want to apply it because most likely it is a security update. A hacker has found a way to take advantage of it, and the vendor wants to the software provider wants to make sure the hacker can't use that anymore.
Great advice there. Hope the business owners are writing these down. Keep work and personal separate. Why would someone need to do that?
So, and that's a big challenge. I understand because a lot of times, especially if you don't have a lot of funding for technology, how do you keep your business system separate from your personal systems? But you want to do this for your personnel especially. This one's especially critical if you have employees who have email accounts with your business. Because email, again, is still the main way that the criminals get in. That's the main way that systems are getting compromised, networks are getting compromised, ransomware is getting in, is through email. So don't let your employees check their personal email on business systems.
Oh,
wow.
Good.
Wow.
Then last is...
Sorry, ladies at the office. We're going to have some changes at the office probably. Yeah, that's a great thing. Haven't heard that one.
And then keeping backups.
Keeping backups. We already talked about that one. And make sure that you know where your backups are. And it's best to practice restoring from that backup on an occasional basis. Because the backup's not going to do you any good if you can't remember how to reload all the data.
Yeah.
But yeah, keep backups of especially the critical stuff. So yeah, backup.
Backup. Don't disconnect it.
Disconnect it.
And do it often. People say, how often do you need to do it? Well,
regularly.
Regularly, and you'll be surprised that it doesn't hurt to do it. Some of the stuff at our office we do on a weekly, and some on a monthly, and some on an annual basis. But we make sure that we keep them, off-site and everything like that. So great. I love these tools and tricks. So thank you again, Tom, for being here.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Thanks for the invite. I really appreciate being here.
Been a great show. Hopefully this is there's some businesses out there that will take heed to some of the things that we've been talking about today. We're 2 minutes over today, as we usually are. We like to go a little bit over our
I'll take
normal
that
time.
one.
So
that's my fault this time.
So we appreciate you being here and talking business. Let's talk about next week.
Yeah. And you told me, Will Jensen.
Jensen.
Yeah, he is the local economist, does great things, has great reports.
Amazing documentation about the COVID, how it's affected the community here in Eastern Idaho. And he's going to be, he's got a report that's like 50 pages, but we're just going to dissect a few pages of that, of how businesses have been affected and what they need to do to fix things after COVID. We're a year into this now, and we're going to be talking about what are some things businesses can do to rebound off of COVID. And there's some interesting things that we're going to be talking about next week. So then we're talking about at the end of the show with some QuickBooks with our trainer that'll be here for that. So going to be a great show next week. Peace, everybody.
Thank you.